Welcome to Meet the Press Now. I'm Kelly O'Donnell in Washington, where after a marathon 27-hour series of amendment votes, Senate Republicans were able to pass President Trump's legislative agenda, calling in Vice President J.D. Vance to break a 50-50 tie after an all-nighter of arm-twisting moved Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska to yes. The massive bill includes some big changes that now have to go back to the House, including an increase in a fund to help rural hospitals handle the bill's sweeping cuts to Medicaid. President Trump and his top Senate allies celebrated their long-fought victory.
In the end, we got the job done, and we're delighted to be partners with President Trump and his agenda, an agenda that is the right one for the American people, the one that we voted for last November.
In November, we heard loud and clear, and this is delivering on those promises. As President Trump would say, promises made, promises kept.
The tax cuts were going to expire in December. There had been a $4 trillion tax increase. That's a big deal.
It's a great bill. There is something for everyone, and I think it's going to go very nicely in the House. Actually, I think it will be easier in the House than it was in the Senate.
Notably, 3 Republicans voted against this bill. Senator Susan Collins of Maine is facing a potentially tough re-election next year. That may become tougher now. And North Carolina's Tom Tillis would have been in the same position, except that he opted to retire after coming out against the bill. This afternoon, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer pledged to use this vote as a political cudgel in next year's midterms.
Today's vote will haunt our Republican colleagues for years to come. As the American people see the damage that is done, as hospitals close, as people are laid off, as costs go up, as the debt increases, they will see what our colleagues have done, and they will remember it. And we Democrats will make sure they remember it.
The sweeping legislation now has one more major hurdle, a House vote on final passage, which is expected sometime tomorrow if Republicans believe they have the votes to pass it. Some House conservatives are already signaling their frustrations with the Senate version. Speaker Mike Johnson has zero room for error after barely muscling through the House's original version by 1 vote. And last night, the Speaker was practically begging the Senate to take it easy on changes to the bill.
We're going to pass this bill one way or the other, and I have prevailed upon my Senate colleagues to please get as close to the House product as possible.
Some careful choreography down the stairs there. Clearly, the political perils of this legislation are top of mind for members of Congress, and polling shows it deeply unpopular. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says the Senate version of the bill would add more than $3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. The CBO says the bill would cut Medicaid spending by more than $1 trillion and lead to nearly 12 million Americans losing their health insurance. President Trump, however, has been relentless in his highly dubious claim that benefits will be protected and that the cuts would only come from waste, fraud, and abuse.
We're not going to be playing with Medicaid. Only waste, fraud, and abuse.
Americans could lose their
the
coverage.
Democrats have it wrong.
Promise?
Yeah. Waste, fraud, and abuse.
So you promise anyone who loses their health care coverage, that is because of waste, fraud, and abuse?
Waste, fraud, only waste, fraud, and abuse, which is what everybody wants.
Joining me now with the latest is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona and NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. Welcome, ladies. Good to have you with us. Mel, let me start with you. Walk us through the marathon vote-a-rama and how did Republicans get their mega math to work?
Yeah, it all came down to Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. She really was the decisive Republican vote that was able to put this over the finish line. She had been telegraphing her concerns for weeks about concerns related to Medicaid cuts, to rural hospitals, to some of the rollbacks of clean energy tax credits. So the GOP leadership were really focused specifically on trying to win her over. And they did ultimately make a number of changes in this final bill, specifically designed to win her over, including a softening of the phase out of those clean energy tax breaks that I mentioned. There's also going to be a $50 billion fund for rural hospitals as a way to sort of ease some of those concerns about how some of these Medicaid cuts will impact rural hospitals in states like Alaska. So it was enough to win her over. However, it has led to some accusations, including from her own Republican colleagues like Rand Paul, who did vote against the bill, that she was just getting goodies and carve-outs for her home state of Alaska, bailing out her home state at the expense of the rest of the country. Our Ryan Nobles pressed her on that Republican criticism, and it led to a pretty remarkable exchange. Just watch.
Senator Paul said that that your vote was a bailout for Alaska at the expense of the rest of the country.
Oh my God.
That's what Senator Paul said.
This one was easy.
Senator, we've got the...
I didn't say it, ma'am. I'm just asking for your response.
My response is I have an obligation to the people of the state of Alaska. When people suggest that federal dollars go to one of our 50 states in a, quote, bailout, I find that offensive. Do I like this bill? No, because I tried to take care of Alaska's interests. But I know that in many parts of the country, there are Americans that are not going to be advantaged by this bill. I don't like that.
Now, you could tell by her reaction to Ryan Nobles there that she had really wrestled with this decision. It was not an easy vote for her. She, in fact, followed it up in a statement saying it was the most difficult voting decision she's had to make in her long career here on Capitol Hill. But she followed it up by saying that she hopes ultimately that the House does not pass the bill as is and that they work to make some changes to improve the bill overall. However, there is no indication at this point that the GOP leadership is planning on doing that. We've been catching up with some of the leadership here in the House over the past few hours. They said they want to pass the bill as is and get it to Trump's desk by July 4th, Kelly.
Well, Mel, that was a wow moment between Ryan and the senator, and one that, I mean, it goes layers deep in her thinking and how difficult this process is. But when you talk about wanting changes, that she would want some additional changes, our indications are that things are going to move quickly in the House. What are you picking up on that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The feeling, at least right now, is that there's a huge boost of momentum after the Senate was able to sort of pull this rabbit out of the hat. They worked all night to get it done, ultimately passing it this morning. The President Trump factor also cannot be ignored. Obviously, he's going to lean in heavily to try to pressure Republican lawmakers in the House to pass this bill. However, there are over a dozen, by our count, Republicans who have expressed concerns with the Senate product. So they might try to extract some other changes here, whether that's in the bill itself or maybe some sidecar deals, some sort of assurances. At this point, they do want to have some sort of conversation with leadership. That hasn't happened. Right now, what's happening is a House Rules Committee meeting. That's sort of the first step in the process in the House to get this bill moving. We'll see if there's any changes that are ultimately made, but it's not, they got their work cut out for them here in the House as well.
Thank you, Mel. And let me turn now to Monica. And we heard President Trump say that he thinks the House will be easier than the Senate after what the Senate's just gone through, but that some arm twisting comes with the territory. What is that going to look like from the White House perspective?
And we know, Kelly, that over the last couple of days, the president has been working the phone. He's been talking to lawmakers pretty consistently, trying to apply some of that political pressure. He even canceled a trip he was going to take over the weekend to his New Jersey property to stay here in Washington and monitor the developments as the bill did move ahead in the Senate. And he was watching that all unfold as he was traveling back today from Florida, where he did specifically speak about what he calls these, quote, grandstanders in the House, saying that he did think the Senate was going to be the more difficult path, as you just mentioned, and that now in the House, I'm told he's back here in the White House and effectively trying to continue to do some arm twisting. And he was specifically asked about Congressman Thomas Massie, who has been opposed to this, a Republican. He said, look, he always votes against me, and it won't be an issue because, in the words of the president, we're going to basically run someone against him to primary him. So then you have this whole future political implication to consider when we talk about these Republicans who are weighing how to vote, what it could mean for their own futures as well. But the president really saying that he thinks Speaker Johnson will get people in line. He had opened some willingness to the deadline. He wanted it done by the 4th of July, but earlier today he signaled, okay, if it slips a little bit, that's fine, but that's still his priority, and ideally it would get done by the end of this week.
One of the side effects of this battle over this bill has been a return of the drama with Elon Musk. And President Trump has certainly taken some new hits at him, kind of suggesting that the power of the government could be used against a man who was one time a top ally and now appears to be back on the list of those who are not considered friends. What is the reboot of the Musk-Trump drama?
Yeah, the feud was dormant for a little bit, but remember, at the center of all of this was this signature piece of legislation because Elon Musk was criticizing the size of it and wanted it to be scaled back because he had been put in charge of government efficiency and he didn't want as much spending, of course. So now that he was criticizing again this version before it crossed the finish line in the Senate, President Trump was firing back at him. And here's a little bit of what he had to say, specifically implying there could be more repercussions coming for the world's richest man.
He's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but, he could lose a lot more than that. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies.
The president referring there to the EV mandate, of course, the electrical vehicle mandate that was a big issue in the weeks leading up to this. And Kelly, Elon Musk said for his part that he could continue to add to this to really make it much worse. But he said on X that he would refrain from doing so for now. We'll see.
In the president's sort of lighthearted tone, there seemed to be a little bit of a threat there about contracts that Musk has. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate your time today.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.